Our focus, just like every other normal Thursday, will be health-related conversations. My guest in the studio is from Ikorodu General Hospital in person of Mrs. Afolake Ajibade. She happens to be the HOD Dietetics and Nutrition. Good morning to you.
Good morning, sir.
It's good to have you in the studio.
Thank you.
Today, our focus would be on diet. It is said that diet is the key to good health. And our conversation will bottle around what we call diet. I am aware that you're an expert and, of course, a well-grounded medical practitioner when it has to do with dietetics and nutrition. The first question I would like to ask is, when we talk about diet, how can we say diet is the most important, if not the important way to have a good health?
Thank you very much. When you talk about diet as the most important thing or the key to good health, it means that whatever you take is very, very important. You are actually what you eat. You are what you eat. Yes, because if you look at the composition of the body, we are made up of nutrients. That is the essential substance from the food that we eat. So it means that if we don't eat right, then there will be problems. And then when we eat right, we have good health. If we don't eat right, there will be problems. But if otherwise, then yes. Okay, now let's digest this conversation a little bit. As a medical practitioner, this is your field. How best can we define diet? Okay, you can say diet is a prescribed food. That means taking the right food at the right time. That is what we call diet. Taking the right food. Yes, at the right time, with the right combination, taking adequate meal. That is what we are calling diet. Then who are the people we classify as people who live with good health? Okay. Because I hope you are aware there are two things. It's a thing to stay healthy, that is good health. It's another thing to diet. Now we're combining the two. Who are those that you can look at this person and say, oh, okay, this one, he or she has a good health? Okay. When you talk about good health, according to WHO, it means when there is absence of disease. That's when you are talking about health. But when you are talking about diet, we are talking about your food basically. Okay. There are people that we can place on diet. Maybe they have one condition or the other. Then you are counting calorie or counting this or other nutrients in them. But when you are talking about good health, generally we advise everyone to be on adequate diet. On adequate diet? Yes, adequate. Regarding your age will determine what you are supposed to take. There are so many things that we call that determinants of food that we talk about, determinants of good health. You're talking about age will determine what you are supposed to take. We're looking at your sex. Are you a male or a female? Because you are, with the makeup of a male, you are expecting them to take more than a female. So you are looking at the state of health. Are you talking about a pregnant woman? Are you talking about a child? Are you talking about an elderly? All those factors are the things that you're going to look at. And they're also looking at the activity level. Is he a sedentary worker you're talking about, or somebody that is active? So all of this will determine what each person will take. So what we are saying is that it is a personalized diet. Yes. You can't really generalize for everybody. You have to fashion all these things I've mentioned, and they'll be able to say this is what you take. But it is expected that everybody take from the 6 classes of food. Okay. We are talking about the carbohydrate, which has to be complex. I was going to get there, but it's fine, you're there already. Please go ahead. Okay. So we're talking about the protein, which has to be good quality protein, high biological value protein. We're talking about the fat and oil, which has to be not the saturated one. We're talking about the vitamins, which are very important in regulating the body processes. You are talking about the minerals, and you're also talking about water, which has to be adequate. So all of these are what we balance together to call an adequate diet. Okay, the state of health will determine how we're going to twist this diet to this nutrient we're talking about. For somebody who is still growing, like an adolescent, what they are going to take is going to be more than someone that is old. That means for a geriatric, an old person. So it differs. It differs. The age actually determines too as well. Yes, but all of these nutrients I've mentioned must be present in each of all these ages, irrespective of the ages. They must all be present. But the quantity now differs. For someone, you may want the fruit and vegetable, which is vitamins and mineral, to be higher. For someone, it may be, for another stage, it could be the protein that should be higher. For some, it could be the carbohydrate that has to be higher. But for all of them must be there. And then you are talking about the best from all of them. You know, when you talk about carbohydrates, we have the complex carbohydrate, which has the fiber, which have everything intact. It is better than the refined carbohydrate, which you get from junks, from processed foods. So the same way for all of this, there are the best choices we can make out of all of them. So it is good for us to choose sensibly, and we choose wisely.
We will get to that part of the conversation where we will talk about the age differences, talk about the old age and of course the younger generation, how they can strike a balance with the kind of consumption when you talk about their food, and then their health as a major consideration. If you're just joining us, it is still the issues on IKD 106.1 FM. This is how we do it every Thursday. And this is in affiliation with Ikorodu General Hospital, where we talk about health matters. Today, our focus happens to be on diet, the key to good health. And with me in the studio, you've heard her voice already. Doing justice to the conversation, Mrs. Afolake Ajibade. She happens to be the HOD, Dietetics and Nutrition. Let's light up this conversation a little bit. Let's take a look at our forefathers, our fathers then. Almost all of our forefathers are not even aware of what we call balanced diet. Neither are they aware of good health. They are not aware of what we call diet. But then, these men still survive. Some people will even tell you for a fact that they are even more healthier than we are now. So I would ask you, what exactly is the problem? Do we say that, okay, maybe we've just mixed it up somewhere, or perhaps our forefathers did it more better? Talking about our diet, why is it as though the older generation of our forefathers lived healthier than we, the younger generations?
Because of the civilization, you see a lot of people, they now taking junks. They will tell you they don't have time. What they are taking is actually processed, refined. But when you look at them right from the farm to the table, that is what they take. They are not adding additives to it. They are not adding any chemical to it. They take it and they live longer. Because the nutrients we get in food affect our health negatively or positively. But because of nowadays, everybody wants to belong. You see them, they will say, oh, I must take this. I must go out with my family. And what do they go to eat? Excess fat, excess sugar, excess salt, which are what are the major problem nowadays. They are predisposing us to non-communicable diseases. You see a lot of heart diseases now. You see diabetes, hypertension on the rise. But you see what they take. What do they use? They will use the locust beans to cook. They are not using this monosodium glutamate. But you see what we now eat. We eat excess of fat. We eat excess of everything. But what they are taking, it is fresh and they are adequate for the body.
Before we talk about some of the causes of not staying healthy in terms of a balanced diet, we would also talk about the ways at which we can stay healthy, which you would help us with. The next question I want to ask will be from your last response to my question when you talked about the fact that some persons will naturally just say, let me just eat whatever I like. If I'm satisfied, I'm fine. Unfortunately, I belong to that circle as well too. Yorubas will say, Kishati jeun kichi yone. So people don't want to know exactly what I'm eating, how I'm eating it, what time am I eating and all. What are the effects to the fact that we are not staying balanced with our digestion when it comes to our food?
Okay, thank you very much. Anytime we don't eat as expected, we are inviting problems into the body. You know, now depending on what is now higher, okay, is it excess of fat you are taking, then you are inviting hypertension, heart diseases to the body. You become obese, and then when you are obese, that is what the problem is. You know, when you talk about this obesity, we have different types. It is better for you to be bigger at the lower part, which you call the pear-shaped obese, than for you to be bigger at the upper part, which you call the apple. By the time you see most of the organs, they are concentrated around the abdomen. So when you have fatty, big tummy, and then you are inviting all problems to the body, which means that, you know, there is a simple thing we can all do, okay? I'm sure we all have our tape rule at home. We can do it. We take it around our waist. And then for a man, we are expecting them to be less than 40 inches For a woman, it should be less than 35 inches.
A man should be less than 40.
Yes.
If
40.
you are more than 40, there's a problem.
Yes, that means you are obese. Yes, that means there are fats that you need to burn, to shed. And then we're talking about the energy balance.
Yes.
Okay, the way it should be balanced is that your intake and your output should actually be the same. When they are the same, there are no issue. But when your intake is more than your output, you are predisposed to overweight, obesity. Then when your intake is lesser than your output, is still not balanced, then you can have what we call weight loss. Then you begin to reduce. So what is important is that we should ensure that both our intake and our output are the same. We're able to strike a balance between the two of them, not one excess.
Our conversation today still stays on a healthy one. Talk about Mrs. Afolake Ajibade, and our focus is on diet, the key to good health. Now let's talk about some of these diseases, some of these health challenges, because this is Nigeria, and I must tell you these things as they are. If we have not seen the trouble, we will not prepare for it. And health, they say, is wealth. Some persons will just tell you, so far I am eating, I am fine. There is nothing. Forget all those things. They are just medical talks. Tell us the risks involved and some of those health issues that are applicable to not living healthy in terms of diet.
Okay. So we have the nutrition-related diseases, okay, because of unhealthy lifestyle, the way we eat. Okay, before I even go, I want to let us know that we don't need to be sick before we visit the dietitian. You know, a lot of people would think, oh, they will tell me not to eat this, not to eat that.
Exactly.
No, we don't have to wait. They can actually assess and see whether we are doing it well or not. You know, when we eat well, we have an ideal body weight. Our weight is very, very important to us. We won't just place you on diet. We want to see that everything is okay in the body. So when you eat well, then you have a good weight. But when we don't eat well, then we have issues. For instance, like hypertension, okay, which usually, like you said, we have it more common now, even in the younger ones. Look at what do we feed our children with. We feed them with high salt, salty food, processed food, salted. Those are the things that we get to school. You don't see parents giving their children fruit and vegetable to school any longer. Even they too, they are not consuming it. So you see all of these issues arising. The same thing with diabetes. What do we give? We know we have type 1, we have type 2. But type 2 usually lifestyle issue. When you look at it, what and what are we eating? When they are going to school in the morning, or we ourselves, some people still go as far as taking a lot of soft drinks every day. Rather than eating. You know, the fruit and vegetable, they protect us. So they have biological substances in them that keep us healthy. Another thing is that when you look at the environment, every day we are being exposed with the environment. You see smokes here and there. We are exposed to free radicals. But when we take this fruit and vegetable very well, they help to neutralize the effects. So the more of the good we take is better than the one we take. We can't fly anywhere. We have to go out and then we get all this. So the same thing with diabetes, the same thing with cholesterol. When you look at the time people eat, we always tell people breakfast is the most important meal of the day. When you can't eat, how many people take breakfast? They take brunch. And then when you look at it, what time did they take dinner? They take it 9, 10, 11, 12. They will tell you they close late. What we need to do is that we need to plan. We need to plan ourselves and see. After 7, we are not expected to take any food any longer.
After 7?
Yes. And
Wow.
then when you look at the age, you know, the younger people, they can still run around and burn. But for the adults, we need to be cautious of what we take. Because usually from 40 and above, the body is not the same as before. The rate of the cell breakdown exceeds the rate of the renewal. So it means that the rate at which the body, even the metabolic activities, everything is getting slower. The rate at which the food that is eaten is being digested is slower. You can't compare it. So when you are not want to eat like before, the excess of it are the ones causing issues in the body. When somebody eats around 12, what time will the food digest? At the end, the food will end up as fat in the body, and it will be stored in the blood and causes issues in the blood. And then you see the cholesterol being high in the body. So all of this, the same thing with cancer too. You see all of this, there are issues with lifestyle. So it is better for us every day to have a positive balance in the body, not a negative balance.
We'll look at some, I know I have at this moment, I have some of our listeners who are already repentant of the fact that they've not been eating or feeding well. Before we talk about the steps, the procedures and method at which we can stay healthy with our food that is balanced diet, there are two categories of people I would like us to talk about and of course enlighten them. The first are these ones that naturally they believe that I like to eat well. If the bowl is not full of eba, I will not be okay. But if I just eat that well once, I'm good to go for the whole day. And then we have another category of persons that will tell you, I don't even enjoy eating. If I just get soft drink, I'm fine, I'm okay. What do you have to say as a medical practitioner to this kind of people?
Okay, when we look at it, we have 24 hours in a whole day.
Correct.
So it is better for us to spread out the nutrients throughout the whole day. You take more food at the peak period of your activity, okay? And then you can't eat once and for the whole day, no. Anytime you take excess of what you need to take, there will always be a negative balance, which means that the excess has to be stored in the body, and that is what is causing issue. It is better you take a little food in the morning, a little in the afternoon and the evening. In fact, you can even have your in-between meals as your fruits and vegetables, because we are expected to take 5 servings of fruits and vegetable in a whole day. So it means that every day there has to be vegetable in our meal. Okay, instead of taking a whole bowl of eba with little quantity of vegetable, what we can do is that reduce the quantity of the eba and increase the quantity of the fruit, of the vegetable. Yes, in the meal. Because you need to protect the body. When the body is not protected, that's where we have problems. And then you get your immunity is even boost when you take a lot of this nutritious meal. So it is important. And for those that says they don't want to eat, they prefer to take soft drinks. When you look at soft drinks, what do we have there? Water, flavor, and sugar. And when you look at it, they don't have any, they have 0 calorie. That means they don't have nutrients for the body, rather than to boost the sugar in the blood. That is the only thing they take, they do. So it is better for us to take our meal. You see, we are blessed in Nigeria and we have variety of food. We have our grains, we have our legumes, we have our roots and tubers, we have our vegetables, we have our protein, our animals, we have our oil. We are blessed. So at every point, what we just need to look at and see the way we can balance this meal. When I want to mention the grains, I can mention a whole lot and what we can use them for. Do you want to talk about your corn, your wheat? You want to we have a lot of them and we can make them in various ways. So it means that we need to ensure that we take a varied meal. It is that when we take it that we're going to get the good health. There is no one food that can give us everything we need. There is no one food that is balanced. You can't say I like beans and I'll be eating beans. You know, beans has its own limitation too. You have to combine. It is when you combine this food that you get the best out of them. So you want to eat, take your rice, you can add your beans to it. You can add your healthy protein to it. It can be your fish, it can be your chicken that is not, that you have removed the skin, you can put that is not fried. And another thing I want us to know is that, you know, as we are getting older, it is better we change the method we cook. Okay, more of boiling of our meal, we can grill it rather than frying our meal. So they are better. So it is better we'll get our sugar from our fruits rather than the table sugar. They are not good for us. They are not good for us. The same thing with excess fat, they are not good for the body. And same thing with excess salt. I'm not saying we should not take salt, but it has to be very little in our meal. Irrespective of the type of salt we are talking about, it has to be very little in our meal. You know, a lot of people don't see water as being part of this nutrient.
Some don't even enjoy taking water.
Yes, and water is very, very important. So on waking up on the bed, we have to ensure we take water. Water will cleanse the whole body, regulates the body. It does a lot of things in the body. So water therapy is very good for everyone. And the soft drinks cannot replace water. Alcohol should be avoided. And then we can spread out water throughout the whole day. People will say, I will just take maybe 1 bottle in a whole day. No, we are advised to take 4 bottles in a whole day. So what you need to do is that you can break it. Okay, when you wake up, maybe it is half bottle you want to take, you take. It is important before food because you need to flush out the waste that has accumulated over the night. You flush it out. When you take your breakfast, take water. After breakfast, you take your water. Before your lunch, during lunch you take, after your lunch you take. So throughout, when you look at it, you enjoy it. If I use pure water, you find out that you are eating, the moment you are eating or taking your fruit, you take water. And it's also important for us to exercise with the meal we are taking. So it means that once we eat our food, we're not just going to be sitting. For those who are sedentary workers, who are always sitting most of the time, I advise that they always get up out of the seat. If they are sitting for like 2 hours or more, they get up and they move around. They can walk for 10 minutes. In the mid-morning, they can do the same thing in the mid-afternoon and in the evening before they go to bed. That way, we have been able to increase the activity. We'll be able to balance the food with the activity level, because once the activity with the food are not balanced, it's also going to give us a negative balance in the body. You are eating the food to have energy to do your routine. It's not just sitting, but by the time you eat and you sit most of the time, you find out that you are not expending the nutrients you have eaten, and then the body stores it again and becomes problem.
Let me guess for the people. Earlier you said we should reduce alcohol or stop alcohol.
We should avoid alcohol.
Avoid alcohol, that was the word you used. For the younger generation or the older generation?
For both young and old.
Okay.
Yes. You know, there are many ways we can make our fruits. There are so many ways. We can, shebi alcohol is a drink, Abi. Why not blend your fruits? You can add water to it, put it in your fridge, and then you are chilling with your fruits.
And that's your fruit alcohol?
Yes.
For someone above 40, what are the kind of foods he's supposed to take and the kind of drinks he's supposed to take?
For anyone that is above 40, the food they are expected to take, for instance, they have to take complex carbohydrate. When I mean, it means whole grains. For instance, you want to take your pap is not sift. Do you want to take your yam? That way it is okay. It is better than the processed one. You can have it. And then all the 6 classes of food I've mentioned has to be there. Let me give an example now. You want to take your, I've used rice before. Let me just say you want to take your yam or your porridge. Okay, your porridge will give you carbohydrate, which is energy. It is still not balanced because we have to ensure that all the 6 nutrients are present. Okay, so you have your porridge. In your porridge now, it is cooked with your tomatoes, your onions. Okay, so you get your vitamins from there. Okay, so you're also going to add your vegetable by the side, which will also give you more of the fruit, and the vegetable will give you more of the vegetable. Okay, so you add it to it. You still need to add your fish to it, or your chicken, or you want to add your lean meat to it. That's going to give us our protein. Okay, and that porridge is cooked with your vegetable or palm oil. So that is our fat and oil. Okay, and then we also need water to go with the food. Although we don't encourage you to be drinking water while you are eating, we encourage you to sip your water. So you can take a lot before and after. And then you also ask for the healthy juice for them. We recommend the unsweetened fresh fruit juice. Okay, unsweetened, that means the one that sugar has not been added to it. Or preferably, you can make your own fresh fruit juice at home. You can take your fruit, could be your apple, you blend it. When you blend your apple, you don't need to sift it again. We take it that way, the way it is. The fiber is still intact, so we take it that way. So we can be orange, can be our grape, we can take any of the fruits we like. Now, if you look at it, even the processed food, they are even more expensive. This alcohol we just talked about, how much they sell a bottle of it? We want to talk about the juice and the sweetened one. They are expensive. So we don't need to have a lot of money before we eat. We can always go for the food that is in season. You will get them they will be fresh. We'll be able to get them, they're available, and they won't be expensive. So at every point in time, there will always be a food in season. So our advice will go for them, they won't be expensive. So to eat an healthy food is not expensive. If you look at the fruit we recommend every day, at every point in time, there will be one in season. Like we have oranges now. As low as 15 naira, 100 naira, you're going to get your orange and you take it, you are good to go. How much is a bottle of soft drinks? 200 naira. Which one is more expensive? Soft drinks is more expensive. And some people take 2 or 3 in a day, which is 600 naira. And to buy fruit, you may not spend as much as 600 naira. So healthy foods are not expensive.
I would like us to also strike a balance. And when I say strike a balance this time around, let us favor the younger generation. The younger generation are said to be the future leaders, the leaders of tomorrow. Now, a caller called earlier that someone above 40, how should he eat and how should he drink? Now, let's take a look at the youth as well. how would you advise the youth to stay healthy in terms of their balanced diet?
So not only you, even the children too, we have to consider them in this case. You know, when you look at them, you know, that's why we said the breakfast is important. Any child that is not taking breakfast will not do well in school. Researchers has proven that.
I would like you to say that again.
Yes.
Any child that does not
take breakfast will not do well in school. Yes.
Wow.
Yes, because you know the food you have eaten will end up giving the brain the glucose that needs it to work. And then when the glucose is not stimulated, the child will not be able to concentrate in class. And if the child is not concentrating when they are teaching, the child's mind is somewhere else, have not eaten. What will I do? That's what the child will be concentrating on. So it is important. For mothers, I want to encourage them that they ensure that the children eat before going to school in the morning, because they have to break fast. If you look at children, they don't usually eat late in the night. Around 6, 7, you see them, they've eaten. So by the time they are going to school, before they have the break time, can be around 10, 11, 12. So if a child has not eaten by that time, you can imagine what will happen. That child will not do well in school, and that child will not have enough immunity too. You see, such a child will be having illness frequently. So it is better the youth. And then when you are talking about eating, it's not just eating anything. You know, mothers are fond of just fast food. We can make a lot in the morning. It could be the rice you want to make, it could be your pap with momo you want to. Just look at yourself and look at your time and prepare healthy food. And when they are going to school, I want to encourage, let us always ensure we put fruits in the bags. It is more important than the biscuit or the juice that we are giving to them, because you can see they are very, very active, and they also need to boost their immunity too, so they need to take. And for the adolescent too, they also need to ensure good food every day. The food has to be balanced, what we are giving to them. You know, when we started, we talk about the 6 classes of food.
Exactly.
Every point anyone wants to eat, whether a child or an adult, all of this must be present. If any of this is lacking, then that food is not adequate. When you have any eye problem, the first thing is you have to see your ophthalmologist, let them screen and see what is the cause of it. Then if it is, because there are so many things that it could be your diabetic or hypertensive or any other condition. So the first thing is that you have to see them, let them tell you what the problem is. Okay, when we want to talk about foods that are good for the eye, we talk about taking food that are very high in vitamin A, like your greens. We encourage everybody to take the rainbow, our fruits. We shouldn't concentrate on one. We should take the ones that are green, yellow, orange, and thereabout. So you increase your vegetables, and then you avoid the alcohol, just like we have said. Alcohol is no go area. You reduce your fat, your sugar, you avoid, but you increase your fruits and your vegetable in your meal as fresh as possible. You know, when we want to cook our vegetables, some people are fond of soaking it in water. We don't need to soak our vegetable. We don't need to blanch our vegetable. We don't need to add hot water to it, and we don't need to overcook our vegetable. And then the canned vegetable cannot replace our own fresh vegetable. The white meat is preferable to the red meat. That means when you talk about the red meat, you are talking about your beef, your goat meat, and thereabout. And your white meat are the one you get from your chicken, your turkey, and thereabout. They are more healthier than the red meat. And even when you are taking them too, you know, just like we said, we have to strike a balance. You can't, there are portions we advise that your meat intake in a whole week should not be more than twice for an adult.
In a whole week?
Yes. You have your chicken, which can be like 2 to 3 times, and you have
I'm
more
trying to imagine
of your
those
fish.
that go to party like almost every time and they eat.
Yes. So you have more of fish as we are getting older, but we take it, and we have our egg, we have our milk, all of them. So our skim milk preferably, and our egg. We need to balance, take everything, and then we get the benefits. Because I've said that there is no food that has everything everything.
True.
So it means that is when you eat this and that, and you combine them, then you get the benefit of all of them.
So the white meat is more preferable?
Yes, it's preferable, but it must be skinned and not fried.
Now let's talk about your field, what you do as a person. You are a dietetics and a nutritionist. Did I pronounce that correctly, please? Dietitian. Now, I was opportune some times ago, a very long time actually, in the eastern part of Nigeria. I got a free slot to meet with a nutritionist, and I got to the office. All of the things she told me were scary. So naturally, one of the reasons why people will not want to come directly is because they will just tell you, don't eat this, and everybody's like, ha, How do I start this? Now let's bring Ikorodu General Hospital to this studio. Now this is the hospital. What would your advice be to we Nigerians, citizens of Ikorodu, indigents and residents? What are the first things we ought to do first? We have decided to repent now.
Okay.
We want to change.
Like I started earlier, I told you that we are blessed in this nation. So we have variety of all, except that we concentrate more on some than the others. Okay, like I talk about the grains. If you look at it, we have a lot of grains. You have your corn is there, your sorghum is there, your millet is there. You have your guinea corn. There are a lot of grains. When I mentioned the legumes, we have a lot of them. We undereat what we have. So my advice is that we need to go back to the grassroots. We need to ensure that we are closer to the nature. Everything God has given us, they are all good for us. There is no food that we have in Nigeria that is not good for us. Except that if we are taking the processed one rather than the fresh one. So all of these are mentioned, they are very good for us. And they have a lot of fiber in them, which will prevent diseases in the body. So all of these are what we need to eat. And when you talk about dietitian, we are not scary. We will tell you the facts. Like I've told you, all of these classes must be in your meal at a time you want to eat. So we will not tell you not to eat this or not to eat that unless there are indications for it. You know, I told you when I started, I said we are made up of nutrients. Okay, and every part of the organs in our body, they have more nutrients than the other. So when organ is diseased, when a particular one is diseased, you want that organ to recover. So you can say, oh, don't take this for the so period, for the organ to recover. That is the only time we tell you not to take this. But for everyone, generally, we tell you, eat all of this in the amount. Another thing we need to look at is age. You know, I said it too. From 50 years and above, we need to start reducing the amount of food we eat. So you expect to reduce your carbohydrate by 10%. Because at that point, your activity is not as before. So you eat less. You have to eat less. But when you are removing 10%, you are balancing with your vegetables and your fruits. So if you have been eating like 3 bowls of food before, you are still eating 3 bowls. It's just that one has reduced and the other one has increased. Some people used to get it wrong when they say reduce, eat less. It's like as if you're reducing the number of bowls that you're supposed to eat. You can still eat the same quantity, but difference in your diet. Composition is now different. The amount of protein or the fat, everything has now changed because of the stage of life where you are. And then when you are 16 and 70, 80 and above, we tell you are going to reduce further. We need to understand. You know, I told you that even the digestive system is slower. So it means that you can't be eating like before. You know, the other time we skip the adolescent, the school, the younger ones, we skip them. Yes. You know, that is the time they are getting to higher institution. And that is when we usually have a lot of problems too. You see the appendicitis, so many conditions will arise because they take more of fast food. If you bring undergraduates out and you screen them, you see them, they are taking junks. My advice is them, look at your time. Every day ensure that you take your right meal, healthy food. Because the junks will only bring issues to the body. We only bring problems to the body. We need to balance our time and then ensure that we have healthy food on our table every day. It is possible to be growing and not having any conditions, which we call a successful aging. You know, we have types of aging. We have the usual one. People are expecting that everybody that is getting older must have one condition or the other. It is not true. That you are getting older. That is the belief. That's the belief. Something has to be wrong. It is not right. It is due to our lifestyle. We want to belong. We eat this, we eat that. And then when you eat it, you know, you can't be doing the same thing the same way. And you expect a different. People have been eating on LD. And then they come down with problems. And you choose to be eating on LD. So it means that that is what will happen. But we can change. And everything we want to do is start gradually. You know, it's not a whole day. Okay, you can pick it. Okay, this week, I want to increase my vegetable. You can have a plan. Honestly, you can have a plan and see, oh, how far have I done with my fruit and vegetable intake? And you see, and you tick it. So it's not that you just wake up one day and just say, oh, everything. No. Start gradually. Give yourself target. This week, I want to change the kind of fat I take. I want to reduce it in my food. I want to ensure that I'm not frying all my food. I want to ensure that I'm not eating out. You know, when you eat out, you don't have control over what you are taking. So you can set a target and then you tick and see, this week I've been able to increase my fruit and vegetable intake, and you're able to sustain it. Then you pick another one. I want to do this, I want to change, and then those are the things that we do.
Process by process, stage by stage.
Yes, and when you do it, you find out that it is realistic. You know, you have to set a goal that is realistic, and then you're able to achieve it.
Definitely.
So everybody can eat healthy, and everybody can have a successful aging, because aging starts above 30-40. People don't want to believe it. The body, yes, the body is at the peak. By the time you are getting to 50 and thereabout, the body is not the same again. And then we need to understand that we need to change, and then we ensure everything go right in the body.
Before I let you go, let's consider some other set of people. This might perhaps be my last question. Some people have health challenges. Some have health issues. You know, it's not deliberate. It has happened. It has happened. And then we still hear some doctors say that because of your health situation, you can't eat this, do away from this, you can't take this, and then there are a lot of conditions. But here you are also saying that we have to strike a balance with the 6 classes of food, we have to take water and all of this. How then do such people, where do they stand?
Okay, like I told you initially, for anyone with health condition, you have to understand what is the situation at hand, because a lot of people even bring more problems to the body than no longer there, because they run away from healthy food. So we have to understand what is the condition. If your own condition has to do with salt, so what we are trying to do is that we are removing salt. But for everything we ask you not to take, there is always a suitable alternative. We always give you an alternative. So every time, all these classes of food must be present. So you can remove one and then you substitute. So we always substitute and we replace as necessary. So everyone is expected to eat all of this. Like I've said before, we remove it. Like in diabetic patients, we play with carbohydrates, because the end product of carbohydrates is glucose. Yes. So we tell them we count the carbohydrates based on the condition, the sugar level, and thereabout. For those people who are hypertensive or obese too, we look at the situation of it, we look at the problem, then we identify, and then what we do is that we would remove what we don't want from that food. Like I told you, different organs with different, have different nutrients in higher concentration than the other. So we look at the organ, and what we try to do is that we remove what will be more injurious to that organ, and then we'll make another replacement. So the person is still healthy and is living very well. It is even more dangerous to run away from food, because if you say I have this condition and you run away from healthy food, all other conditions that are not there before, you start seeing them. Malnutrition causes a whole lot of problems. The body is in negative balance when we have malnutrition. It could be over, it could be under. Some will run away from this and they take excess of another. So another problem will arise. So what is important is everything must be adequate, and that is what we do. So for anyone that has any condition, we advise them to come to General Hospital Ikorodu. We're always available for you. And for those who are not even sick, we tell them, come, let's assess you before you have problems.
You don't have to wait till when you're sick.
You don't have to wait to see. The people believe that it is until they are sick before they see dietitian. No. You can come and then they assess. And then if you have noticed anything, maybe food intolerances or anything, just come to us. We are available.
You've said so much, I would agree to that fact. What will be your parting words to our listeners, those of them that have taken time to listen to you up until now? I have gained a lot and I have learned a lot. But what will your parting words be? What
I want to tell everybody is that the meal is to be enjoyed. We are created to have pleasure in what we take. So once we follow everything I've said, I want us to enjoy our meal and to live healthy.
Thank you so very much. This is the Issues on IKD 106.1 FM. We draw a curtain on the conversation, but then do not forget, next week, Thursday, will be another very good time with Ikorodu General Hospital. But for today, we had our guest, Mrs. Afolake Ajibade, who did justice to the conversation. One more time, I say thank you so very much.
Thank you,
and please, my warm regards to the MD in person of Dr. Taiwo Azan, and of course, my daddy. I call him daddy. That is the Deputy Medical Director, Dr. Femi, Dr. Femo. Please, my regards to the entire Ikorodu General Hospital. God bless you. It is IKD 106.1 FM. My name is Adebambo Opayemi, urging you to stay healthy, live healthy. They say health is wealth. God bless Nigeria. God bless Lagos. God bless the beautiful people in Ikorodu. It's a bye for now.